So, how did Noah get all the animals on the ark then? What do we normally think of when we think of getting all those animals on the ark? We kind of get this picture in our mind. Like, how did he get the brachiosaur on the ark? You know, in some of our Sunday school stuff for children, and we'll have these little pictures of the boat, and we'll have all the animals hanging out the top like, what does that say to the children? That says the same thing the world says to them, doesn't it? The ark's not big enough. The story is not true. If you have those in your children's areas or youth areas, throw them away. Because you're telling them what the world is telling them, that the ark just isn't big enough. But is that true? Let's go back to the book that we don't know anything about, and let's see what it says to us. That's more like the size of the ark. 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, 45 feet tall. This is where it would fit in a football stadium. See, there's that picture that we have for all the young people to look and go, oh my goodness, there's no way they could do that. But the real ark had the capacity of 522 rail cars. That's a long train. Who wants to get stuck waiting on that one? That's 1.5 million cubic feet. That's a big ship. Now here's the other interesting thing about it. Let's go back and let's look at this picture. In some, there are flood legends all over the world. Did you know that? A lot of different civilizations have flood legends. But one of the ways that you know that some of them aren't true is there's one that the ark is the boat is a cube, shaped like a cube. Now, can you imagine if you had a cube on the water in a violent storm? What would the cube do? Yeah, we'd have dinosaur stew, topped with a little Noah bones and a little Noah wife pepper. The really interesting thing about this is when you study this ratio, a lot of ships are made on a similar ratio today because that's a very stable platform in the water. It won't tip very easily. One of the ways you know that the Bible is actually telling us the actual story because it is giving us a dimension that when we look out there and observe, observable science, we talked about observing, we realize that those dimensions work out very nicely. So, what was on the ark? Genesis 6:19. You say, how did Noah get all the animals in the ark? So first of all, we've got a big ship. All right? It's still not big enough for every animal on the earth, is it? Let's see. All right, let's have some clarification. What was not on the ark? Sea creatures. Duh. Right? So he didn't need fish on it. Right? He didn't need insects on it. Insects probably would have survived on, you know how insects can live. Good grief. Trees that were uprooted, all kinds of debris. You can't kill a bug. You guys know that. You live in South Carolina. On the ark were air-breathing land animals and birds. Air-breathing land animals and birds. So when people say you couldn't get all the animals on the ark, people all say, well, how do you get the fish? What do you do with the fish? And what about all the bugs? All right, so we have to look at what the Bible actually says. Only air-breathing land animals and birds. All right. So let's focus in on a very specific word that God uses. He uses the word kind. Kind. Now, we think of that word today, we think of somebody being nice. We think of a kind of shoe or a kind of dress or a kind of dessert. All right, but God is using this word differently. He's using it in a scientific sense. This is what he says. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds after their kind, there are birds. Of the animals after their kind. And of every creeping thing on the earth after its kind, little critters. 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive. All right, so let's analyze this a little bit. All right, so first of all, God brings males and females. That would be smart, wouldn't it? He brings 2 of every kind. He brings males and females. He probably brings younger animals on the ark. He probably doesn't bring the old ones. Sorry to my white hair. You're not on the ark. Why would he bring young? They're smaller and breed. They can breed. See, God is smart. He's smart. All right, so he brings two of every kind. We're going to talk about the word kind here in a minute. Now, I want to show you a very interesting little phrase. Remember, we believe in a Bible we know nothing about. If we read the Bible, if we give it the benefit of the doubt, and we read it, we will find some amazing things in there. People say, how did Noah go and get all those animals?
He didn't.
What does it say?
They came to him.
It says they will come to you. See, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Well, ask yourself why. Why do you not believe that? If there is a creator, if there is a God who made everything, then why could he not cause animals that he made to go to a place that he made when he wanted them to get there? There's no logical reason that God couldn't do that. What happens if you doubt that, what you really doubt is that God even exists. See, that's the problem. That's called an a priori assumption, an assumption before the fact. You're assuming there is no God, therefore this couldn't happen. People say the same thing about miracles, about the resurrection of Christ. There's no way there could be a miracle. And it's not the miracle that they have a problem with, it's God's existence that they have a problem with. We're going to talk about God's existence in the next session. 2, they're going to come to you. I think that's a really cool little phrase. All right, so what's a kind then? What's a kind? All right, a kind is not a species or a subspecies when you're talking about the animal kingdom chart. All right? It's more like a genera, if you can look that up. But in other words, I don't know if you know this, but the dog kind, you can take a wolf, you can take a pair of wolves, and eventually you can get down to a schnauzer. But you can't go the other way. Why? Because the wolf, the big, robust wolf, has in his genetic code all the information required to produce all the kinds of dogs. So what we have when we have collies and dingoes and all these others and chihuahuas, well, these answers in Genesis, they're all from Australia. So they're a little weird. So we can take a couple of wolves and we can get all these different kinds. Well, here's the thing. This is what was on the ark. God didn't need every kind of dog. He just needed 2 of the master dog kind. 2 healthy, young, male and female wolves. And then over time, as they spread out over the earth, as they mate, as they die off and all this, you end up with all these little dogs running around. Now, when you do the math on that, here's what Ken Ham says. Including known extinct kinds, there are only about 1,400 kinds Noah had to take with him. That's 1,400 pairs. Accounting for 2 of every kind and 7 pairs of some, he only needed a few thousand animals.